Welcome to part 3. In this video we'll be continuing the C++ character select tutorial. I've linked to the previous chapters below, so if you've basically missed a chapter, there should be, you'll be able to catch up below. So the main focus of this one will be to code the player controller header and source files. So without further ado, we'll go into that now. So going into the header file, I've got my character select controller. And as you can see, we've got basically an empty header of just the standard header files that you would get for this kind of class. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add the interface to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go include, and I'm going to just add the character select interface to our header file. And then after the public A player controller, because my character controller inherits from A player controller, I'm going to add public, lowercase only, public, and I want the I character controller interface. Give some time for the IntelliSense setup, but hopefully when it catches up. Have I got the right one? Yep, character select interface and character select interface. So let me just double check that. Yep, character select interface, that's fine. And until we add the methods, it will basically throw out an error. But we'll focus on that after we've done the other methods. So what I want to do is I want to add a standard constructor which doesn't take in any variables, and that's it for now. Next I want a protected section, and I want to call event begin play. So virtual void begin play, and I want to overwrite the existing implementation of it. Next, I want a method that will create a character menu. So create character menu, I'm not going to take any parameters, and that's it for the protected section. So next thing I want is I want a private section, and in order to do that, first thing I'll add, I want a class of uCharacterWidget. And I want that to be a pointer, and I just want that to be a menu. So next thing I need is a character menu to actually spawn. So I want a T subclass which references a blueprint. So T subclass of, I want a class of user widget, and I basically want to call a character menu class. Okay, IntelliSense is caught up, but that pretty much is the end of that. And what I want next is a public section. So I want public, and essentially I want to call that spawn character method from the interface. So spawn character is uint date, and it takes in an index. However, with it being a method on here that I want to override from the existing implementation, so if you remember, this doesn't have anything, it's virtual void, but in order to use this I need to override it. So that's what this override method should do here. Okay, so that's the header file populated. So what we'll do next is we'll start to populate the source file. Okay, so moving into the source file for this controller, the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to create the constructor. So it's literally a character select controller brackets, and that's basically the first one set up here. Next thing I'll do is I'm just going to override yeah, create the begin play, and I'm just going to do a quick actions and definitions. Create a definition, and I'm just going to do the same for the other methods as well. So create definition, close, and we'll do the same for the interface as well. Close that, and as you can see, we've got all of our methods pre-done for us, so it's able to type it out over and over again. So first thing you need to do is I want to populate the constructor. So what I'm going to use is, if you're selecting a widget blueprint, it needs to reference it, and you can do that by using a constructor helper. So the variable we have here for character menu class is a subclass of user widget, so that means it can be a blueprint. So in order to get that reference, that blueprint, we need to use constructor helpers. So to use constructor helpers, we need to add an include. First include is uObject / constructor helpers dot header. That's the first part. And what we can do as well, obviously because we're trying to find a blueprint widget, let's include the include for that. So we've got blueprint user widget dot header. Okay, so that should be all of the various includes that we need. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use the constructor helpers. So constructor helpers : F class finder, and I want to get the type of user widget, and so it's going to create a variable there, and I'm just going to call this character menu BP, because we're referencing a blueprint class. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to open text, open brackets, and then what this does is this will actually take a directory. So we want our particular version of this character blueprint. So if we go back into the editor, we find our blueprint, so we want the reference for that. So all we do is select new character, select widget blueprint, and I just want to copy the reference. Go back into Visual Studio, paste that in, and there you go. So delete that, and delete the first line there, so it's just the quotation marks, and just that directory there. So next thing we need to do is we basically need to check if that's valid. So I might just put an ensure there rather than a standard null pointer check, and I'm going to call it if character menu BP class is not null pointer, and then I'll just fix my parentheses. I just want that to return. Oh, hang on. Oh. Let's see, character class, text, blueprints. Menu BP class. What have I done wrong there? Right, let's see what I've done. Okay, little mistake done there. So class finder, user widget, menu BP class. Let's find that. Tiny mistake. I didn't put a parenthesis mark on it to close the thing with a semicolon. So it's easily done. So what we'll do is now, okay, character menu BP class, make sure that doesn't return null pointer. If not, carry on. So what we'll do is just shift out that back so it looks tidy. And what we can do is we can just say in our main thing there, character menu class equals character menu BP class. Okay, so dot class. There we go. So it's double named, it throws you off. Okay, so that's the constructor done. Okay, so continuing on, let's do the begin play method. So in this one it's going to be quick. All I'm going to do is do a super begin play. It doesn't take any parameters. And all I want to do in this is I just want to, as soon as that begins to play, I want to create a character menu. Again, similar, it doesn't take any parameters. Okay, so that's done. That's all we need for now. So let's move on to create the character menu. Okay, for the create character menu, I'm just going to reuse a little bit of code, and I just want to use this ensure here and modify it slightly. Only instead of checking for a character menu BP, I'm just going to check for the character menu class to make sure that it's not null pointer. If it is null pointer, it won't crash the program or cause any errors, and it'll just return out. However, if that's fine, we can continue. So what I want to do next is I'm going to get my menu variable, and I want to create widget. And what I want to do next is I want to use select widget. I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to get character menu class. Okay, it's throwing up an error here, but it doesn't know what a use select widget is, so we have to tell it that. So under the includes, at the top, I'm going to include, and I'm going to just type in select widget. That should resolve the error, and it's throwing up something else now. So it doesn't like the character widgets, so let's go have a look in the header file, and straight away I've called it the wrong thing. So look, apologies on my part, but that should have been a uSelect widget, not a uCharacter widget. So I do apologise for that. Hopefully give the IntelliSense a little bit of time to catch up, and it should resolve that now. So what I want to do again is I'm going to use this ensure again, only instead of the character class, I want to use the menu instead. As you can see, IntelliSense is caught up and it's now accepting that variable there. So it likes that. If it's not null pointer, it's doing all the checks, safety checks. So the next thing I want to do is using that menu, I'm going to call setup thing. So it doesn't take any parameters in. So on event begin play, it'll create a character menu. It'll do the checks to make sure that it has a valid blueprint selected or a class here, and it should create it. And then once that's created, it'll fire the setup method into the select widget source and basically put it on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this part up now, and we're going to do the spawn character in the next video. So I will see you in part 4.